everyone watching at home so massively generously above more than I can possibly say was super generous and hit our 1,000 sub goal this month.
Just as you do.
You do. Just casual 1,000 subs. But welcome everyone. And it's time for our way too early MK1 Cameo Fighter tier list. We did our main fighter one just now. If you want to see it in the VOD, go back a couple hours, you'll see it. We went pretty much, you know, pretty in depth in detail for it. Obviously it's just our opinion and everything, but, you know, feeling pretty good about it. Please don't put that there, not next to that, put that there. Sorry, Ryan just put his drink on the back side of, like, both of my PCs near the cables. I was like, Ryan, no, please don't you ever do that.
Pouring it straight down the fan.
Just like, please never do that. But yeah, sorry, everyone was super generous and gifted loads of subs, and now there's 1,000 of you. Let's do the tier list for the cameo fighters. And that's what we're doing now. It shouldn't be as long as our main fighter one, not even close, but obviously it's just as important. I'll be honest, this is going to be really difficult, and I think it's good that we've got S, A+, and A here. I don't think any of the cameos are going to be below A. I don't think any of them are going to be lower than this.
There's not a single bad cameo in the game.
No, every single cameo in the game we have seen some kind of competitive use out of by now. So everyone.
Really, it's more of a matter of ironing out which ones we think are the best, because
the cream of the crop. Yeah, no one does it better.
There's no definitive worst cameo.
There is, however, what I think has a case to be the best.
Yeah, no, that's kind of what I was hinting at, is that we're in a situation where nothing's bad, but some things are definitely arguably the best. And that's where Cyrax comes in.
Cyrax is probably the most slap it on a team and make that team scarier cameo in the game. I think there's a combination of factors. I think a lot of these different cameos aren't quite as obvious. Some of them are more technical, some of them are more nuanced, I guess you could say. Cyrax is not one of those cameos. Cyrax, you will pick him for horizontal chopper, and every single character in the game will benefit from that. Every single character, every main fighter can see benefit from making things safe, making things plus, building loads of bar, doing a fair bit of chip damage, and just having the threat of it, right? Because you don't even need to call Cyrax for people to respect it. You know, just the fact that it exists. Like, everyone in the game is using horizontal chopper for safety, or advantage, or chip, or all three. And there are people picking Cyrax just for that. You know, net is good. It's mainly a trading tool. There are a handful of characters that can combo into it, which is pretty cool. But most of the use is coming from, like, the chopper. So the best way I can put it is, like, chopper is up here, the best move by far. Net is up here for characters that can use it, kind of down here for those that can't. And then self-destruct is, like, all the way at the bottom, where self-destruct is largely ignorable and not really worth a lot of point. But we're already seeing characters that Cyrax is making a threat by himself. Baraka Cyrax is doing some of the highest damage in the game. Johnny Cage Cyrax is doing stuff that only Cyrax can do for him. Havoc Cyrax, Katana Cyrax I really like. Scorpion Cyrax. Scorpion players are starting to go to. Like, you can just slap Cyrax on any team.
Cyrax is becoming a
new, of course, Raiden Cyrax,
popular combo.
Ashura Cyrax, Kenshi Cyrax. Like, Geras Cyrax. There are so many characters that you can just slap Cyrax on, and the team now gets a lot more powerful. And I think that is exactly what you want from a top-tier cameo in this game. And Cyrax is very, very, very powerful. I would say, argument to be the best cameo in the game. Which obviously makes me happy.
It's hard. It's hard for me.
He's very good.
It's hard for me to disagree. With the spin being as good as it currently is,
and that's also vertical as well as horizontal. Because loads of characters can use vertical to get huge damage.
Yeah. So it's in its current state. It's hard to think of any other cameos that I would say are better. There's not a single character out there you can't put with Cyrax and become better. And a lot of the cameos don't have that luxury. So there's definitely that. And the characters that he pairs with, well, pair with him to the point where he's probably their best pairing.
Who else do you think is S tier?
S tier. I'm gonna say.
I just realised we're missing a cameo.
Are we? Which one?
We're missing 2 cameos, in fact, but we can use their main fighter version, Sub-Zero and Scorpion.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I think that one render is there for that.
That's fine. We'll use them for that.
I'll tell you who I think is S tier.
I agree.
I think Jax.
I absolutely agree. Jax cameo is ridiculous.
Jax is difficult to use. He is hard to use. One of the hardest. I don't think he's the hardest cameo in the game, but I think he is absolutely the most underrated. He's not like a hidden gem by any means. People know that Jax is good.
I think we've seen what he's doing, and what he's doing is very scary. Giving everyone 100 health, gigantic damage. That's the main thing, is just reactable confirms into him to give yourself huge damage.
He gives
ground pound.
A lot of characters gigantic combos. His ground pound is something that can either be straight up guaranteed in some situations, and in others a scary situation that will force you to move, or you can crouch block to have that almost like protection that's there. But that, even then, can lead to certain mix-ups that I expect that, so I'm now going to do something else. And it's the extra health. Jax gives you a lot more health. So you have this character who is giving you huge damage extensions, ground pound to totally destroy the neutral. Let's not forget that if the ground pound doesn't hit them, he stays out and keeps going until either he gets hit or he hits you, up until like, what, 3 or 4 times? Can't remember the exact number.
I think it's 3, but if he's done 3, but another one wouldn't really make a difference.
The thing about Jax is that he's not going to give you anything to assist landing a hit, with the exception of ground pound in some situations.
If you've set it up, yeah.
But with the setups and with just the air grab damage...
Energy Wave having quick cooldown and being safe as well, let's not forget that.
Energy Wave has quick cooldown.
Amplifying forward grab to do more damage. Yeah, a lot of bar in this game.
In an up block meta is incredibly strong.
Or say meta, but people are doing it here and there.
People are starting to do up block more, and they're getting grabbed for it more as well, because that's just part of the package. Also, for me, Jax is a top 3 cameo.
I think Jax, can transform characters into just absolute, just nuclear bombs. You know what I mean? Like, it's doing so much. Also, the 100 health he gives, where a lot of people are playing the cameos that make you lose 50. A lot of people will be playing an 1100 health character against like a 950 health. You know, and that 150 health difference, that's like, you can take basically one more combo of them.
One more throw.
You know? Yeah, you can get an extra throw won't kill you, an extra couple of fireballs that won't kill you, and that definitely can't be ignored. I also think, in my opinion, I think Sub-Zero cameo really is one of the strongest. I think Sub-Zero cameo is so colossally useful for so many characters. Aside from the obvious of just confirming hits into freeze, his freeze leaves you in the air, so you know you can use that to set things up. It's always going to leave you stationary. He leaves you stunned for a long time, and it's very confirmable. Like, I think Sub-Zero's freeze might be the fastest stunning cameo move in the game. Of everything that stuns you, I think it's the fastest.
If you're using it in a combo, it is the easiest freeze to actually combo you with.
And it is going to work off of just about anything you want it to, but not even just that, like Cold Shoulder being a safe mid fast advancing thing, safety in the neutral, you can poke with it in, you know, in a ways, but the ice armor, I don't think it's possible to overstate just how useful it is to be immune to fireballs or projectiles. Having straight up invincibility to projectiles, for rushdown characters it means it's really hard to keep them out, and for keep away characters using Sub-Zero, they cannot be counterzoned. They can turn on the armor, and it is their playground until it goes away. It really puts so much pressure on the other player to get in, knowing that they cannot even throw a fireball to trade with you, let alone beat you in the, you know, like keep up with trades or just beat you in the zoning war. So it's like, genuinely speaking, it's just powerful. I think he's just so much utility, and we're seeing a lot of characters really transform with him. Havoc Sub-Zero gets a lot. Any Zona playing Sub-Zero gets a lot. Rain Sub-Zero, obviously, we've seen quite a bit of. And I just think it's really powerful. You know what I mean? Like, everyone can use stuns. Everyone can extend their damage, and just giving yourself the ability as the ambush as well to just turn off the ability to be zoned is kind of ridiculous.
It's such a game changer. It's hard for it to not be that high up.
I think it's so good.
It transforms matchups. It totally will alter a character's viability in some situations. It just totally changes some characters, and having access to that is really important. But now, outside of this is where I think we get...
I think Goro's up there.
Yeah, this is where we kind of have to talk about the cameos outside of that and what they provide you. Goro doesn't necessarily work with every character, but the characters he does work with are absolutely, like, insane.
He's also an example of a cameo that people will pick for just the punch, and they'll ignore the overhead grab, they'll ignore the stomp, they'll ignore the punch walk, and it won't matter. Because up punch is so powerful that it's worth picking him by himself. Even with the minus 50 health, even with the long cooldown it gives, it is so powerful. Like, Goro's existence turns a number of characters into this game into having a safe, if not plus on block, armored launcher, and Goro gives that to them at will as long as they've got the meter. That is so strong, especially right now. Again, there's a lot of gaps in people's offense because of just things not being airtight by design, or you'll leave gaps because, you know, like Cyrax, if you're using Chopper, you can plug gaps with Chopper, but if you plug gaps, then maybe you can't make him plus enough to follow up. Someone like Goro, if you have the armor, you can go for the interruption, get it, armor comes out comes Goro, there you go. Making it, and he's also, I believe Goro is the fastest ambush strike in the game. I think up punch is on paper the fastest strike, and that gives him so much mileage because there's so many characters who can just do something and reactionary combo from it on hit, make it plus or safe on block, you know, and that's what they're looking to do. And it's such a strong utility because it's lockdown. Having the ability to lock the opponent down on reaction at will in this kind of fighting game is really good. And we're already seeing Goro do it with loads of characters. And that's just the ones that we've seen so far. I imagine he could do it with just about anyone in the game.
Goro's a weird one where he's one of the few examples that, yeah, you pick him for a single move where he has, in theory, quite a lot of moves. You know, he's got the stomp, he's got the grab, of which the sort of, like, I say grab, the grab style move he's got where he jumps in, grabs you, throws you up.
The overhead grab thing, yeah.
That does actually work, you know, in certain mix-up situations or certain situations where you get combos. Like, that does work. But yeah, no one's picking him for punch walk. They're not picking him for stomp.
People are just picking him for up punch, and it's good enough.
Up punch is good enough, and that's where he currently is. If there's ever a day where up punch gets nerfed, he will probably drop in use.
I know who I think, in my opinion, is our final S tier cameo.
Look, Kung Lao cameo is maybe even a top 3 for some people.
I think it could maybe end up being the best in the game,
like,
eventually.
Kung Lao cameo at the moment...
In fact, I'm putting it here.
Kung Lao cameo at the moment is absolutely ridiculous. Because low hat, fast, plus can be held to give you hard to blockables, to give you more combos, to give you pressure on block, to fill holes in strings, to make unsafe things either safe or plus. And if you hold it and it hits them, you can combo from it completely.
And it has the instant cooldown. Not instant, you know what I mean, quick cooldown.
And it has the fastest cooldown. And that is just low hat. Low hat is one of the single best moves in the entire game because of just how much it gives you. And again, it is so multi-layered that low hat, you can give it to anyone in the game and they'll find a use for it. Either to help the zoning, to help mix-ups, to help, you know, a flaw they may have. It's all there. But then you factor in the rest of his moves, which are also really good. Teleport, while it is situational, for some characters, teleport becomes ridiculous.
Well, it is armored on the way down.
Yeah, it's armored
if you're using it defensively, anyway.
It's armored as you sort of initially come down. Some characters can use that teleport to get combos only Kung Lao and Motaro.
I mean, Shao Kahn is the go-to example of that, right?
Yeah.
Where you do his overhead that normally has like very low reward. Suddenly, if you have like Lao teleport, the reward is a full combo, which is huge. And then someone like Shao Kahn really wants that low hat, really wants the ability to confirm into spin, which is a launcher that, if you've got enough hit advantage to combo into it, that's a free launch that doesn't cost EX or doesn't cost your character's launch, so you can save it for later. I think Kung Lao is just, in the hands of a skilled player, just completely transforms the game. You know, it's like, we're looking at different uses here. Cyrax is very aggressive on block, on hit, whatever. You know, Jax is damage, combos, health, beefiness. Goro's much of the same. But then things like Sub-Zero cameo...
Except beefiness.
Huh?
Except beefiness, because he makes you weaker.
Yeah, I said that for Jax, didn't I?
Yeah, you said Jax combos, he got beefiness, Goro much of the same. I'm like...
Oh, yeah, sorry, I'm only now saying what you said. Whereas, like, the Sub-Zero and now especially Lao, even though Lao is obviously going to be giving you combo extension with spin and whatever, I feel like he's much more of a neutral kind of controlling KAMEO. And obviously you can have explosive offense. Like if you've got a crumple, you can use low hat to get hard to blockable. If you've got something that like, you know, has a certain kind of knockdown, you can call the low hat, do a jump in, and now they've got to deal with it. Where they, you know, you jump in the air, they can't even see low hat anymore, and it's connecting, and they have to block it as a low. You know, I think Kung Lao is just crazy good, crazy good. And he's always there.
One thing we didn't even mention is that not only obviously does he give people a meterless launch and spin, but it's actually a really dangerous reversal.
Yep.
If you, it's not really something that players are looking into at the moment, but the usefulness of defensive cameos and having the reversals or the wake-ups or whatever else, Kung Lao's hat spin is, from what I've seen and from what I've been told, the spin is a really, really decent reversal. Yeah. I don't think it launches, but it's fast and it has a decent amount of
Chat was talking about it in depth yesterday. Apparently it is just a really good reversal overall. But even without that in mind, I still think this... I definitely think this is like our top 5 cameos in the game. In my opinion, this is the best.
But just outside of that top 5,
yeah,
who I absolutely think needs to go there, and could even be there himself, maybe even over Goro for some people, is Scorpion.
Yeah, Scorpion KAMEO is very powerful. I did not think much of this at launch, but I have definitely had my mind changed by seeing it in action.
It's just his ability to take a character that already does some things well. Scorpion is the kind of KAMEO that really pushes that up some. It's a level of being unique again, where the retreating spear as a defensive tool for a character that doesn't want to deal with extreme rushdown, unless they're doing something that just completely chews you up and armor breaks, that spear is going to get you out of there. That on its own is genuinely really good. His forward KAMEO with the overhead slash, it's slow and reactable. If you are at the highest level and you have played the matchup enough, you're going to end up looking for him to come out and hit that overhead. But it can be used as a extra option.
The only downside for me for the retreating spear is that because it does bring you to full screen, a lot of the aggressive rushdown characters want to get you in the corner as soon as possible. So if you use the retreating spear, you've basically just put yourself, obviously depending on where you are, you've put yourself a full screen distance closer to whatever corner is behind you. So if I'm like playing Baraka, I want people to do that, because I can then just, you know, do some wave dash and catch up, and now they're nearer the wall. But I know you're kind of making your way to it, but the fireballs, man, the fireballs are so good. Again, it's a reactionary combo tool. Or if you know they're going to connect and you just go for it off of like certain launches.
They are the main tool, and it's the combos they can give you. And you know, we're talking about combos at the moment because it's genuinely like combos are all it can do, because they only hit you while you're in the air. But
it turns a lot of things that are not combo tools into combo tools.
That is the scariest thing about it. Not only in a lot of situations where other ambush can result in combos as well, this works and can sometimes work better. The sheer concentration of characters that normally cannot combo from something, that the second they have Scorpions up flame, they can. Some other KAMEOs are going to let you combo from those situations, but they will not give you anywhere near the same level of reward. Well, that is where Scorpion, I think, becomes the scariest, because it's not just a matter of, oh, you do this move that normally can't combo and you get one extra hit. It's, if you've got the right combo pathing available with your character, this is now something totally brand new, and it's going to lead to an absolute ton of damage.
One thing you have to say as well about Scorpion's launcher, like the fireball juggle, is let's look at the other KAMEOs that give you mid-air juggle opportunities, right? Cyrax chopper, Goro punch, anything like that that you're using as a combo tool. Scorpion's fireballs give you a preset kind of juggle every time they connect. You can do Scorpion fireball right at the beginning of a juggle and you're going to get whatever launch from it, or you do them right at the end of a super extended juggle that's used up all your gravity. It's still going to give you the same kind of launcher until you follow from it,
and that's why it's so good.
And that really helps. You see that a lot with Rain, for example, who will launch you early and then use Scorpion late and then tack on a nice chunk of damage at the end of it. I just think Scorpion's really good and definitely deserves to be up here. I also think this I genuinely think Sector needs to be an A+. I think Sector is so...
fantastic.
He's not the most, forgive the pun, explosive cameo. Like, he's not going to be doing, like, you know, oh, you've seen everything work, and now it's cool to do all this crazy cameo stuff. He just makes your neutral so scary. Up Rocket forces the opponent to respond to it. You know? Even if we're just talking about Up Rocket, the second Up Rocket has left the screen, and it's gonna come down, your opponent has to rethink movement, rethink punishes, rethink setting anything up. Like, as soon as it's in play, it has to be respected. Up Rocket is so powerful. It's good for Oki, it's good for armor breaking, it extends combos, easier for some characters than others, but because it's one of those cameo tools that you have to plan ahead, you know, unlike the Cyrax Chopper or the Goro Punch, the Up Rocket is an ambush cameo that you have to really plan in advance. You have to know, right, I'm going to call the rocket, and then I'm going to do this thing, and on hit or block, this is how I'm going to respond to it. Or you're going to look to react, or whatever it is. But when it does connect on hit, it adds loads of damage to combos, doesn't really scale anything, doesn't really add much juggle, right? But then, Tele Punch goes full screen, launches anywhere. Flame Burner is a safe on block summon special that it is a very plus on hit restand, so characters can hit that in the corner and get really good, like, again, just restand potential. I think Sector's really nice. I think he is super tidy and very well put together.
He just gives you loads of good tools.
And Homing Rocket, of course, lest we forget.
The characters he works really well with, but there's definitely a concentration of characters that do not work with him.
You cannot just tack him onto any team, no.
You can't. The up missile is far too slow in a lot of instances, because if you want to use Sector the best, you need to get the most situations out of what he provides, and if you get loads of different uses from his up missile, you're already off to a great start. His Flame Burner is, I think, one of the more underrated cameos right now.
Yeah, it's really good.
It is a super plus on hit restand, so if someone's in the air and it hits them, it restands them into plus frames. We see Smoke players do that in the corner all the time.
It gives Smoke a full-on vortex, yeah, potentially.
Yeah, Sector is one of the best pairings for Smoke at the moment, in my opinion. But he is, just with how his moves work, he works with some characters, and he really doesn't work with others.
I think those he does work with, he really works with.
They're good enough to warrant his position, because he gives you a lot of utility. I think that something that I'm excited to see from Sector down the line is maybe instances where you force a trade with Flame Burner. That's something I haven't explored yet that I'm actually going to look into myself. Being able to trade from that first hit of Flame Burner into a full combo against the opponent, that in theory could be something incredibly scary to fight, but it depends on the right situation. But I like him. I think Sector sits happily, like, just outside of that top 5.
So I think Kano also belongs up here. I think Kano is one of those, I think he's one of those cameos that is not, I don't want to say he's being ignored right now, but I think we all got so much...
I think he is being ignored right now, genuinely. I think at the moment, people saw so much Kano in the beta.
That's basically what I was about to say, yeah. I think we all saw so much of him in the beta and the stress test, where he was so powerful that people are kind of just trying other characters or not really looking at him as much. He's doing everything he used to do. Like the Kano we knew from the stress test in beta that was so powerful and so scary, he's still in the game.
He's still the same.
He's very much still doing it. It's just obviously he gives you 50 less health now compared to normal, but that's not the end of the world. Because Knife is still the ultimate screw neutral kind of situation. You can use it with a lot of characters on block to make stuff safe as a reaction, launch off things that don't normally launch. If it clips someone in the neutral, let's say you call Kano Knife and you do like a charge, like a flash, not a flash kick, a shadow kick, Baraka lunge, Sub-Zero slide, whatever, and they get hit by the knives, you still combo from it easily. Kano Ball, obviously charging it costs more bar now the more you hold it, which is definitely a nerf, but it's still good for that. You know, it's still a mid that he just holds. You can let it go whenever you want. You can just tap it and use it for that as a mid that they can't go underneath. Like, again, I think we've all seen what he's doing, but he's still doing that, and he's still doing it for, like, every character in the game. Like, I would wager that if there's any character that you think works really well with Cyrax, he's probably doing the same thing with Kano. It just requires different timing. I know Baraka still works with Kano, Johnny still works with Kano. There are definitely a lot of characters. Katana as well can still work with Kano. I think Kano is currently seen to be somewhat of like a less exciting version of Cyrax, but if you are playing a character that needs to get in and you're using Cyrax and Cyrax does not help you do that, you should consider using Kano as well. Because Kano gives you that way in, that neutral control where you in a lot of cases get to basically just bypass that neutral situation. And then out comes Kano, throws his knives, you get in, and now you're doing the crazy stuff.
Now, I'll tell you who we're going to put in. The question is, who might be better? Striker.
I think Striker and Kano are about the same.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
They both give their own set of tools. They both are 950 health. Striker, I am pleasantly surprised with what he has.
He's a lot better than I thought he'd be.
Yeah.
You kind of just hear Striker and assume he's going to suck because it's Striker.
Striker hasn't been a good character in like 30 years. So, you know, even in Ultimate, he had an Infinite and was still one of the worst characters. But, like, Striker's ability to give you plus frames on command on top of an overhead mix-up, that is a great starting point. But it's the grenades. If we are talking about, you know, we talked about Kano having the knife toss, which is a really great move to use this screw neutral special or something unsafe and throw in the knives. If that is good, then Striker's grenades are like twice as good as that.
They are a bit slower.
They're slower, but that doesn't change the timing of how you can use them. You can still time them so that they are used with a charging move to cover the... You've blocked it, and now here come these grenades. The ability to combo from those grenades is significantly easier than the knives, in my opinion, on the ground. Maybe not in combos. In some combos, they can still work well. But
they're not as much of a reactionary ambush move as Kano's knives. Because Kano knives, you still have to do some planning, but Striker's like a bit more in that direction. Where more planning, but massive reward if they do connect.
Striker's...
He's also giving people massive damage.
The damage he can give you from those situations is just insanely good. Striker is really simple, but he's just really effective. Like, it's hard to go super in-depth about Striker. It's just... He's just a really good cameo. You know what I mean? He gives you the baton mix-ups, which the overhead is plus.
Well,
loads of characters are more likely to have a low somewhere than an overhead.
Well, you say that, but both are plus. He has the overhead and the low baton.
The low's only like ever so slightly plus.
The low is +2, the overhead's +6.
Yeah.
But the one thing you can never count out is the fact that most summon cameo attacks that have an overhead or low tied to them, they're not really... Like, they're overhead lows, you have to look for them, but they're not true, unseeable, oh, you know, Scorpion's coming in with his overhead sword and my character's got to lower the string so it's a 50-50. Doesn't work like that. Because you see Scorpion come in, you know he's coming in with an overhead, you have to react. It's like tricky.
It's like
but...
Frost's low. Like,
yeah,
it's
exactly.
It's easy to react to some of the cameo mix-ups offline. I have to say, online it is a bit harder.
It's easier, I will say, but it's
you
possible.
react to the cameo running in, and you know what direction they're going to hit.
And you can't do that with Striker because both the overhead and the low are summons, and they're similar speed. So when you see Striker running in, it's not, oh, Striker's coming, here comes the overhead, could be the low. Even if the overhead is the mix-up, the player might know you're looking for it and do the low anyway. And then, like Raiden, for example. Raiden Striker is a really common pair, where he's obviously got the forward 4-3, which is the low-low. Then you go forward 3-4, forward 4-3-4 to go low-low-low. The last hit of that low is ending the string, and it's safe but minus. Let's say you go forward 4-3 into low baton. It's now low-low plus unblock low. And then Raiden's going to hit it down one. Let's say it hits, party time. It continues to do the same thing. And yeah, I definitely think that's powerful. Obviously, it gives you the 50 less health. The handcuffs are very character dependent. I would say the handcuffs are about as character dependent as the Cyrax net is. Not every character is going to want to do them at all. You know, even if you're in a situation that you can do the restand, you might not want to because you might have a better option to just do damage, knock them down. Maybe you've got a better alternative. But someone like, I've seen Reiko with Striker get good use out of them. I've seen it theorized that Raiden can, but I haven't seen it in gameplay as much. He's not the most common cameo in the world, but I think Striker is definitely going under the radar in general. I think he definitely is very respectable.
Here's a discussion, because I've been seeing people in chat ask about it as well. Where are we putting Serena?
So she's definitely not bad by any means, but I do think she is being overblown due to how popular she is. I think there's a couple of things we have to discuss when we talk about Serena. I think she's A+ for sure. So I definitely think she's in the right bracket here. but I wouldn't be happy putting her any higher than that. Because here's the thing about Serena. I know she's everywhere, and there will no doubt be people watching right now, probably even in this stream right now, that are really annoyed. Like, no, this is the best cameo in the game. Super annoying. I hate fighting against it. I'm so sick of it. But I think the main reason, there are a few reasons why she's so everywhere right now. A, she's easy to use. B, she's easy to understand. And C, she is everywhere. And you know how it is. People will see it and they'll play it because they see it. And they're like, oh, everyone's using it, so it must be good, so I'm going to start using it. I definitely see so many people putting Serena onto characters that makes sense. You don't get anything from her.
No.
You know? But we have to look at what she's doing. You know, she's giving you a very reactable combo extender, which does decent damage. Doesn't scale super hard. You can use 2 of them in a combo, and it makes the combo last so long that one of them's almost back by the end of it, but it's still expensive, costs your entire KAMEO meter. She's got the fast knife toss, which I think is massively underused.
And she's got one of the best reversals.
Yes, which again, we don't see.
No one's
we
using.
Don't see.
When you see people play Serena, they are picking her for the double knife, and that is it. There is so much more to this KAMEO that people are actually using, that if down the line, you know, more popular cameos start to appear, and that's already happening. I'm not encountering Serena anywhere near as much now as I used to.
She's definitely already starting. Basically, a lot of people that were just playing Serena KAMEO before, I think, are now just playing Baraka Cyrax, and we'll probably move on to the next flavor of the month when it's found in a couple of days.
Because that's just a fighting game player. It's a video game player thing.
Yeah,
is to do that. But at the same time, though,
she is definitely still good. I think
she's still good. But all of these other cameos, I genuinely think are better.
Well, yeah, I would agree with that. Like, I don't think it makes her bad. I think she's definitely still A+. I think she's definitely still solid. Like the double.
She's no lower than that.
No, like the double knife toss is still very good in the neutral, because if you get clipped by it from like half screen or closer, you can get full combos.
It's just that most of the time right now,
and it forces you to duck and play around it. But I do think she's being overvalued.
The problem is right now, in most cases, when I see someone who is good pick their character and they just throw Serena on top, I look at that character and how they're playing, and all I think is, you could have picked a bunch of different cameos and given yourself more than this one move that you're picking this character for.
I think the same sometimes.
So many people are picking Serena right now and limiting themselves to potential. They could be giving themselves a lot more, but they're not. And that's why it's a hard one. When I think Serena is a strong cameo, I don't think of it just because of that move. I think of it because of the whole. She's got lots of stuff that can be really strong. People may not be using it, but it's there. And when we start to see it get used, she's in the right place here. But she's not the best. She's nowhere near the best, in my opinion.
So someone else I think is very strong. We don't see as much of, but I think Frost is still good.
A+?
Yeah, I think Frost is still very good. I think obviously her glaring weakness is no ambush. Like, she's got 4 attacks and they're all summons. But there are some characters in this game that straight up don't really need to use an ambush, because they have like built-in safety, they have fine meter build, they have fine damage. Like, they don't need that element of using ambush moves on block to function. And when you don't need ambush utility and you're fine with summon utility, Frost is still giving you a full screen freezing option. That godlike trading tool, just neutral option in general. The orb is still crazy. Like, the orb is actually still so good in terms of like setups and potential to get off it. Like, again, I was talking before about how I was against Omega K, who was playing Gearus Frost, and using Frost, you can turn his command grab into like a 500 damage combo tool, and he can only do that with Frost. She has the iceberg for safety, the punch walk to push back. Like, I think she's a very complete character. I think she's just very solid overall. Again, I don't think she's the most versatile. I think there are more attractive, like, explosive options, but I definitely think she has good utility. Like, I definitely wouldn't think she's any less than A+. I think her use has massively fallen off at a high level, but I don't think it's because she's not worth picking. I think there's just a lot more kind of like early aggressive picks that people are prioritizing right now.
With some of the reasons people would pick Frost cameo in the beta, a lot of people are now picking
So I'm just banning a bot from chat.
Get out of here.
Strange.
A lot of people are now kind of just picking Sub-Zero cameo for similar reasons, but you know, it's certainly not a situation that Sub-Zero cameo is a better version of Frost. Frost will give you different
they offer
stuff.
completely different.
You know,
things.
you got the punch walk, you've got the icicle, which is kind of there.
It's okay.
It's there.
They've made icicle much better than it was before.
But
it's massive.
yeah,
it's true safety.
For me, it's down the line. I want to see what characters can really make that orb stupid, because that is something that, like, later on in the beta, we were seeing people find orb stuff because people were really looking at Frost like that. Now the game's out, and we have all these different cameos. I don't think anyone's really looking at Frost in that level of detail, but I'm sure there's stuff there.
I think Frost has the KAMEO effect, where some people are kind of just bored.
They just want the new stuff right now.
Yeah, what they were doing before, and obviously the game's brand new, and like in the first couple days, people were just playing their beta teams online, but that period has already stopped.
Yeah,
we've already seen people try and play a bunch of new things.
So,
who I think is next, and I think probably our last character in A+, I think is Darius. I would say Darius is probably, I'd say here. I'd put him here.
Darius is a weird one, isn't he? Because
Do you agree with this for a start?
I agree. I certainly wouldn't have Darius as low tier.
No, I don't think any of these are low tier. The lowest tier is going to be A. The cameos are very good.
Low tier is a bad way of putting it, I admit.
It's true on a technicality, but the low tier in this is not a bad tier to be in.
Yeah, there's going to be a point where someone's got to be at the bottom, even if the bottom isn't bad.
Yeah.
Darius is absolutely ridiculous with a handful of characters.
Yeah.
And that's the thing.
You cannot just throw him onto anyone and see some crazy stuff.
Technically, you can, because Darius going into doing his neutral kick into the forward cameo, into the hard to blockable scenarios, most characters can do that somehow. However,
is it worth your entire cameo meter though?
The cooldown is relentless. Like, you are not getting, if you go into that neutral cameo attack,
he ain't coming back for like 30, 40 seconds.
You are getting that once around, and that's it. Like, I have never seen Darius come back like in a round after being used.
I have, but never more than twice.
I've never seen it.
At most, you will use him twice a round.
So you'll use him right at the beginning of the round, and if it's a particularly long round, he might come back at the end. But when he's not there, you're playing cameo-less base character, right? That's the thing to really factor in. When you pick Darius, you have to make sure that his reward he gives you is worth only having it on average once around.
Which is why you'll see him used with someone like Reiko, who Darius turns his command grab into a full launcher for a lot of damage. Yes, that's probably worth it. You know, I did see Fox experimenting with some Gearus Reiko. I've seen Reptile Reiko, but like, there are characters that can use him. They can confirm into him easily. There are some characters, like, if you're a character that can use his overhead flip without having to use the neutral one first, I want to play a character that can do that. Because I want to try using Darius without having to rely on the neutral cameo first. Because I think that could make him a lot scarier. But most characters aren't doing that right now. And obviously, yeah, you can use the you know, the spinning him around, you know, back cameo for mids and chip damage and stuff. But you know, when you're picking Darius currently, you're picking him for the roundhouse, the neutral hit into the follow-ups, you know, and that's fine for some characters, not all. Those that can use him extremely well, but I would say he's one of the least versatile cameos that we've seen so far in terms of like overall characters that have really thrived with him. But he would not surprise me if we saw him start to rise in use and then crazy stuff is discovered. He is the cameo I have the highest hopes for seeing stuff eventually, when players get more comfortable with the game and what he can potentially give to you. But obviously we have to wait and see what the time holds up for us. Now it's time for the A tier, I would say, and I think, you know, it doesn't really take a genius to work out which ones are left and are going to be down here. But yeah,
we only have a small handful, and I tell you what, let's just take the rest and put them in here.
I would say in that order. Yeah, I think that's fair. Don't think we're missing anyone else.
I don't think we're missing.
Are we missing any of the cameos, chat? I don't think we are.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. That is right, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, because then the 16th slot is the one that we can't obtain.
So, right. I will be completely honest. For all we know, Sonya could actually be higher. For all we know.
No, we have to go by what we've seen, not by what we think.
But only what we've seen so far. Of every cameo in the game right now, I actually think Sonya might be the most underexplored.
Sorry, we're missing the fire and electric elementals. Sorry, chat.
Excuse me.
Can't find them. So,
I was going to say, excuse me, I'm the most unsure of Sonya because I feel like there's some stuff there that just hasn't really... Not a lot of people have been looking into Sonya like that.
I think EX Energy Ring has potential, but again, we need to see it. I don't want to be like, oh, it could be good, so let's put it higher. Like, I want to wait until we actually see it before I change my mind.
I agree. So, I guess we'll start from the left then.
Yeah, so the reason we have them all in A tier, chat, again, this is by default our bottom tier of the cameos, but A tier is not bad. We genuinely do not think any cameo in this game is useless. I have seen legitimate uses for every single cameo in this game. The question is, how many characters do they give that to, and how useful will it be in the grand scheme of things? You know, so for example, Motaro, you know, you lose 50 health, his triple fireball has massive cooldown, the reflecting shield isn't super useful across the board, but low fireball's mad plus and has normal cooldown, and his teleport is very powerful. You know, like Motaro teleport is very quick. It puts you right next to the opponent anywhere on screen. So when I think Motaro, the main character that comes to mind is like Reptile. Reptile Motaro, I think, is more common than we've seen anyone else so far. Motaro Shao Kahn does a similar thing, but Shao Kahn has the argument of, well, you know, maybe Lao does something similar. But Motaro has seen use, just nowhere near as much. I feel like if it weren't for Shujinko, Motaro would be the least used cameo in the game by far. Genuinely. Yeah, for a lot of characters, he does function as like a worse Lao because his low fireball is slower and you can't hold it. And it has a longer cooldown, but it is a bit more plus. I think it's like +5 as opposed to low hat being +2. But low hat you can hold, which is kind of like changing it a lot.
Haven't seen much from his reflect, admittedly. We haven't seen much from his reflect. So generally...
I don't think there's a lot of potential with his reflect.
No, I just don't think he pairs with that many characters. And that's more or less probably why he is where he is.
You could say something similar about Darius, but when Darius works, for example, like Darius with Reiko actually seems like one of the strongest teams in the game. I cannot say the same thing from anyone that Motaro is working with. He's good, and he's usable, but I'm not seeing like, oh, Motaro by himself might be weak, but put him with XYZ. You're right.
Excuse me. Sorry, I sneezed.
It's like, you know, put him with XYZ character, and oh my god, he's so good. Like, we haven't seen that from him yet. But yeah. Motaro gives Shao a better combo off his overhead than Lao does. Yeah, I know, but is that the reason to pick a cameo, right? Like, he'll give you a better combo off the overhead.
Comboing off a single button is often not a good enough reason to use a whole cameo.
But then Lao gives a launch off of 2-2. Low hat, again, you get the ability to hold it, and the +2 at will on a much faster cooldown. Like, it's just, again, that's the problem. You know, you kind of have to have that argument of trading off. I think Motaro, if they were to do something like make Motaro triple fireball, cool down faster, or start firing quicker, or hell, if they had it so like if you get hit by one of the fireballs, you get hit by all of them, so it was like much more confirmable, that would be nice for like quality of life. But I don't want to sit here and talk about buffs and nerfs because it's way too early, and obviously, you know, this is all opinionated at the end of the day. But I do think Motaro is one of the weaker ones in the game. Sonya, I think, like you were saying before, I think there could be potential with Charged Energy Ring.
I feel like she's too low, but we haven't seen enough of her.
No, I mean, I think this fits her use.
In my heart of hearts, I feel like she could... I honestly feel like she could be higher than we have placed her.
I don't agree at the moment.
It's... Yeah, we're undecided, clearly, with each other on this. But...
I mean, I've seen her give, like, Shao Kahn massive damage.
I see potential.
Like, she's still... Like, Square Wave is still one of the best reactionary combo extenders if they're in the air. You know what I mean? Like, it's not difficult to just be like, right, you've popped someone up, tap Square Wave, they're still in the air, and you're going to get like a nice amount of damage from it. Like Sonya still gives quite a lot of damage to some characters. Like I was seeing before VGUI was posting like Sonya Shao got really high damage. But then you have to think that's all he's getting from her, you know. So it's hard to know.
Is he? Because Shao doesn't have a projectile, and he's getting energy ring.
Yeah, but again, we have to see it. That's my point. Like you're saying, in theory she can do this. I'm saying in reality we haven't seen them do this yet.
I say with Sonya, give it time.
Maybe.
I don't believe she's that low, but I feel like
Jake where would you put her?
I'd put her an A+.
Where? Who's she better than an A+?
Well, maybe she just needs to go like here.
I don't know if I agree with that, because I've seen so much Frost that I'm
then she'll go down here then.
Put her above Motaro if you're, you know. But even then, I don't know if I agree with that. But it meets in the middle.
For the sake of you, keep her there.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
My day is made.
But yeah, Sonya's just one that we need to see more.
Yeah, she does have 140 damage forward throw. That
she
is
has
true.
the highest throw.
Yeah, she does have a high throw damage.
Sadly, and finally, one of my favourite cameos in the game to use, but I think just functionally with how the game works, is just the weakest. It is Shujinko. Because
his use changes massively in every single matchup. It is very difficult. Like I said on Twitter before, I think Shujinko is a long-term character, and by that I mean he basically is like the imposter Shinnok of the cameos, where his use will change in every single matchup you will ever play. You will never get the same two moves from any character. You need to know how... You basically need to know how to utilize the moves he gets in every matchup you're going to play. Because that is how you maximize him. It's good that he gives everyone an additional mid to confirm. His scaling is crazy. Like, he just doesn't scale. He gives everyone really big damage. And I think it's kind of sick. He's kind of got that kind of Pai Mei swag, kind of like arrogance to him, where he basically uses your moves but better. Because his version of your move... It's safe when yours normally isn't. It combos... his launches, yours doesn't. You know what I mean?
I genuinely believe...
And I like that, but he just requires so much comfort and knowledge with the entire roster. Otherwise, what's the point?
You say that, but I honestly think, like, down the line, the best circumstances for Shujinko is going to be down the line... There are some characters that if you take Shujinko cameo against them to use certain moves that they have, it's really hard for them.
I mean, Geras...
Already, we are seeing...
It's given, like, touch of death scenario.
We are seeing Shujinko versus Geras. Sometimes we're seeing touch of death. Sometimes we're seeing 70%, 80%, I mean, whatever.
There is maximum damage in this game, so like, you can't do 100% of someone's life.
You can't take 100% of someone's life, but there are some characters that, with Shujinko as your cameo, being able to steal certain moves actually is really bad for the person you're against. If you are a character with a stun of some sort, being able to take Shujinko versus Kenshi to be able to steal his Sento stance and do his stuff back to him.
Yeah.
That is a lot of stuff that could be really, really, really good. We're not going to see that now. We're going to see it later down the line when we've really uncovered what base characters won't want to fight Shujinko, because he'll take their move, which is already a really good move, and use it better to a point where it's really bad for them. So I'm looking at Geras, I'm looking at Kenshi. There are possibly other characters out there as well that can do that. Smoke is actually possibly one of those examples.
It gives you invisibility.
You steal his invisibility. Not only do you steal his invisibility, but you can combo from the invisibility as well.
You take Reiko's enhanced parry, which is the 2-frame one.
I'm not convinced he's that good against Reiko, sadly.
But I'm just saying, like, on paper, he does take some pretty crazy things from them.
When we see, if we see Shujinko in tournaments, it's going to be for very specific matchups that the base character will have a nightmare fighting.
Yeah.
The sad thing about that, though, is
I don't think
that's not going to lead to a good cameo.
I don't think
you can't play Shujinko on his own. He will have a time and a place, and that is where Shujinko will be used.
And we haven't seen that time or place yet.
No, it's far too early.
But over time, we could see it for sure. Anyway. It definitely didn't take as long as our main character to list, and I'll be honest, I feel really good about this.
I feel better about this than our base roster one.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm also happy saying that I don't think any of these cameos are bad whatsoever.
Nope.
I think the cameos are extremely well designed so far. Obviously, yeah, you've got your best ones, and obviously, you know, Cyrax is kind of crazy, and I mean, who else even is an example of that? You know what I mean? Like Lao Lohat seems kind of wild, Jack's damage, but nothing is like, oh my god, this is actually ruining the game. You know, like these cameos are mad fun. They really are fun, and they transform so much. I really am so far loving the cameo system. Of all of like the main gameplay mechanics of the NetherRealm era Mortal Kombats, I think cameos are my favorite so far. I really like the way that they've been done, and I can't wait to see the more that we're going to get over the years. However many years they decide to support the game and release DLC. Obviously, we already know there are 6 coming with the first pack and whatever in the future. But anyway, chat, again, thank you very much for everyone that helped us reach the sub goal to do these way too early tier lists. Thank you for the support through the month. And for those of you watching on YouTube, do let us know what you think, of course. Who you change, what you agree with, what you disagree with, all the usual stuff. Thank you very much, everyone. Have yourselves a great day. Thank you for tuning in and spending the time with us. Do check out our main character tier list as well if you want more to see, if you watch this one first. But yeah, thanks everyone. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you later. Peace.